Assin Manso means passing through. Unlike the other places involved in transatlantic slavery, this place only started getting some attention in the past couple of years. But it is one of the major pieces and parts to start telling the story of the transatlantic slave trade. Popularly called the Last Bath because it is where captured and enslaved Africans were brought from other parts of Ghana and Africa to take their last bath, grooming, and first branding before starting their journey to either Cape Coast Castle or Elmina Castle. The history behind this place is both spiritual and physical. Assin Manso represents the journey of no return, and it shows the strength and resilience of Africans.
So what are you expecting?
I don't know if I can even answer that question. I think what I'm about to experience is beyond what I'm able to even comprehend. Like yesterday, going into the castle, seeing what we saw was beyond what even my imagination could even conceive. And maybe, hopefully, that's because my mind isn't as wicked as my forefathers were, to think of how somebody could possibly do this, not only to an animal, but to another human being. So, I don't know.
Let's go. Let's see.
So once again, good afternoon. My name is Kofi, born on Friday. Yes, and Friday is always the best. Yes, and I'm going to be your site guide. But before we start with the tour, there are a few things that I'll let you on before we start with the tour. Visiting Assin Manso slave site, it's not just for the history aspect of whatever happened in the slave trade. We've gone beyond that by connecting with ourselves, our spirituality, and our ancestors. So in here, we do go through a lot of rituals whenever we visit this site. But everything that we do in here is not binding on anyone to do. But it's just the tour guide have to tell you everything that we do here for you to choose what you want to do. So basically, whenever we visit this site, the first thing that we do is basically either we pray with a point of libation, or we substitute that with observing a minute of silence for all our forebears that lost their lives. So basically, because we don't have any ramp for the libation, we substitute that with the observing a minute of silence for our ancestors. After which I would say, may their souls rest in perfect peace. And we all respond by saying Ashe, meaning it come to pass. So please, if you don't mind, may we observe a minute of silence for our ancestors that lost their lives during the trip. May the souls of our ancestors rest in peace. Ashe. So, welcome to Assin Manso once again. Assin basically means people that are just passing through. Yes, research has it that majority of us that from this community were some of the captives who were brought into the market to be sold out. But most of us that were able to survive and escape from this captures, because we didn't know how to return to where we were captured, we formed part of this community. So, because this place was the market itself, it became the capital of all the Assin communities. So it had the name Manso. Manso means capital. So the name Assin Manso, that is the meaning of Assin Manso. Assin, people passing through, and Manso is the capital of all Assin communities. So yes, so during the 14th and the 15th century thereafter, our brothers and sisters, mostly prisoners of war, were hunted, captured, and they were treated as merchandise. They were shipped across the Atlantic Ocean to work on plantations in the Americas and the Caribbean. Assin Manso today was the greatest pool for the adoption of individuals, family, friends, relatives across the Atlantic Ocean to work on plantations. It was seen as the biggest slave market during the transatlantic slave trade, which was documented by one historian in the person of Ikuya Adoma Peg in a book entitled The Transatlantic Slave Trade from the 16th century to the 19th century. Likewise, our very own Professor J.U. Apanda in his book entitled The Transatlantic Slave Trade, Landmark, Legacies and Expectation, and a British historian in the person of W.E. Ward in his book entitled The Short History of Ghana. All these historians made the claim that indeed Assin Manso community was the biggest slave market during the trade because it was strategically positioned to the Cape Coast dungeon. So during the trade, captives that were through markets played the most important role, passing through the north and central part of Ghana. Salaga and the northern part of Ghana, and Assin Manso closer to Ghana. So captives that were captured from the upper borders of Ghana, some parts of Elmina, Gulu, Nasilebu, Bole, and all those that were captured in the northern part of Ghana were first made to walk in chains and shackles, barefooted and half-naked, to the Salaga market in the north. It was in the Salaga market that they were given something tomorrow to feed on and a little drink to drink because they knew that the journey from Salaga to Assin Manso is going to be a tough one for the captives to embark on. So giving them something small to eat, the journey continues. They were made to walk in chains and shackles, barefooted and half-naked, from the Salaga market to Assin Manso in here, which was 300 miles by foot. During the journey, because our forebears were walking through the forest part of the country, majority of them were exposed to many dangers while marching from the north down to Assin Manso. Some of them were bitten by snakes, others were attacked by wild animals, others suffered the cruelty from the slave raiders. So according to oral history, majority of our brothers and sisters couldn't make the trade to Assin Manso, couldn't make the journey to Assin Manso because most of them lost their lives along the way. You could have pregnant women who were all in this mess together, walking all the way from Assin Manso, from Salaga to Assin Manso. When they were coming from Assin Manso, something happened on the way. They got to a river called the Pra River. So when you are going to Kumasi from here, you're going to see the river on your way. It's called the Pra River. When I was doing my work on that and I saw the river reading, I became very excited when I saw the river. The reason being that when I saw the river, in my thinking, I said, wow, this is the time our ancestors will get something to drink. Or maybe they could sprinkle some of the river or some of the water on their bodies for them to be refreshed, so that at least they could continue with this journey. Until I read further and I knew it wasn't what I was thinking. The prayer river was the river that our first sorting out took place. Because they knew the prayer river is closer to getting to Assin Manso, when they got to the prayer river, those of our brothers and sisters that were seen not marketable, they were brought out of their chains and their shackles, and they were just pushed in the river to die. Those that were able to swim across the river would be saved. But even that, it was not just easy for you to swim and escape, because when they put you in the river, they fire their guns at you. So majority of our forebears died in that river. So every 31st day of August, we always go to that river at night, observe a vigil, mourn our ancestors, and thank them for their roles in our lives. Because the following day, being the 1st of August, is when Ghana as a nation, we celebrate our Emancipation Festival. So when we landed here at Assin Manso, this was a place that, again, we were sorted out according to age and sex. By determining our ages, a device called the speculum oris is put into our mouth, open our mouth, count our teeth, thereby forecasting our ages. Broken bottles was what was used in shaving them for them to look attractive. Leaves from a bamboo tree that were very itchy was what was used to bathe them in the river. So after taking their last bath on their own soil, then those that were able to go through all the stages, they survived and they were put back into their chains and shackles, and they were made to walk to the Cape Coast dungeons, which was 35 miles from here. But those that couldn't make it, those that were seen as freedom fighters and those that were rebellious, all those people that couldn't make the journey to Cape Coast were killed and buried at the riverside, which we'll be going there later, a place called the Bamboo Cemetery.
We made the long walk from the gate to the river. This place is best to experience for yourself so that you better understand what you're watching. But before we go to the river, we stopped by an interesting plant called the mimosa plant.
About the mimosa plant, during the trade, as I was saying, some of our brothers and sisters engaged in that, but majority were also against the trade. Those that were against the trade, they started fighting the raiders in order to save their people, and also to bring them home. But because they weren't having the ammunitions, they were equally targeted, killed as well. So to avoid them from being captured, they started mapping up strategies in order to save themselves, their families, and their communities. So when you go to Gulu, in the northern part of Ghana, you could realize that they built defense walls around their communities, all in the name of preventing intruders from getting to them. Other groups moved to the mountainous areas, so that when the raiders are coming, they see them, they roll stones at them, so they don't get to them. Other groups were in the caves. But those that were in the caves coming out was very, very, very difficult for them. So those people resorted into planting of the mimosa plant to see whether it is safer for them to come out or not. So whenever they wanted to come out, the first thing that they do is to see whether the plant has been opened, as we are seeing now all over. So if the plant has been opened at the strategically place it is planted, then they knew today nobody is around, so you can come out, pick everything that you want, and back to your hideout. But also, when they wanted to come out and the traces are something like this, all over, you can come in here and just touch this. Touch this.
That's amazing. Oh my. This is a sound.
So whenever they see the traces like this, they knew it can never be a movement of an animal, but nobody wants to take any risks. so they don't come out. So this mimosa plant saved a lot of them because it was only known by the indigenous people, but not the raiders. So that is what this mimosa plant also add to the survival of our ancestors during the transatlantic slave trade. Now we're making the journey to the river. So we'll be making the journey to the river, and before I open the door, I basically have to knock 3 times to alert our ancestors that we are coming out. Because when you read Numbers chapter 6, it tells you that how a Nazarene should look like. So when you read what a Nazarene look like and you stand in front of the mirror, you know that you are what they are talking about. bamboo trees you see over here serves as camps for the raiders. So when they bring their captives, they chain them around. It's waiting for them to take their last bath before selling them. Now at the slave camp, we don't sell enslaved Africans at the camp, but those people, they come to the camp. The big men, they come to the camp and choose the best of us before the rest will take it to the market to auction out. So those people will be here waiting to buy the best of our enslaved Africans. Now, this river you see over here is a very huge river. Sometimes when it rains, it's flat all the way every time you get closer. Now, this river is two separate rivers. There are two separate rivers. They are not the same river. This one over here is called River Emisa. Then we have this river also to the non-consume, which literally means the slave river. This one. Our brothers and sisters were made to wash themselves in the non-consume, but not River Emisa, because with the non-consume it is always stagnant. Because they were scared that when they made us wash ourselves here, we might escape. So they made us wash ourselves in the stagnant water, still in chains and in shackles. The question is, how can you wash yourself while you are in chains and shackles? That is the job of the raiders. And by doing so, you see this tree, this bamboo trees over there, the smallest part of it, they cut it and they split it open and they use it to wash our enslaved captives. So after washing us, you find out that almost all of us have bruises all over our body with blood oozing out. Then also, there were some crocodiles also in this river. So when they push you in there, they use that opportunity to see who the strongest of you can be. Because everybody wanted to buy the strongest. So after washing you with the leaves from the bamboo tree, after washing them, those that die are left. So the river becomes basically red. The rest that are left were put back and they were made to walk back to where we are standing. So when they come in here, they still make them go through vigorous exercises in addition, just to determine our strength. Because it is assumed that if all this blood can be coming out from us for us to undertake such an exercise, that makes us a stronger people. So after all those exercises, they clean all the blood from us and they smear us with palm oil and shea butter just for us to look attractive. In the olden days, there was this big baobab tree which was situated at where we have our first auction. So they take them to the baobab tree and they chain us around the baobab tree for our first auction. Basically, our brothers and sisters were bought with things that are not really important. It is not really important the thing that they bought us with. They bought us with things like used clothes, tobacco, whiskey, gunpowder, those petty things that they were. And I was reading a book on the transatlantic slave trade, and it's made this revelation which, when I knew of it, I cried this deep inside me. During that era, one horse goes for 15 strong enslaved Africans. So during that era, even animals were valuable than we Africans. This community is a very rich community. But the question is, spirituality and riches, what do you want to choose? For us in here, we chose spirituality because we know that this place serves as a sacred ground for us. It is this place, this river is where the chiefs and everybody comes for their other things. So we need not to make the environment look bad. We need to preserve the water. So when you go in there, you can see some bricks of gold. It's a sand for you to know if there are a lot of gold in there. But the community is not allowed anyone to excavate that land and go for those things, because the community said these are the sacred places of our ancestors and we need to keep it safe. So there has been so much banter with the government, but the chiefs have always been above them. They tell them no, nobody comes in here. So I'll take you there, and if we are lucky, I'm going to see something, I'm going to show you. Then I'll just let you do one of the rituals, which is the same with wishes. I'll give you a leaf, put your wishes on it, say your wishes on it, and leave it on the river. And anytime your wishes come to pass, never forget, buy yourself a ram, put it on the quality of the ground, and say it. And that's it. Let's get to the river. Let me get you some leaves. Let's see whether we can see something. Okay. So you come. Gently use a romantic eyes and look on the rocks. I don't right on the rocks or in there. I don't know whether you are seeing it. Oh, this is basically traces for you to know there's money under it. But for us, what we get from this particular sacrifice of ours, we prefer for it to be like this, because we believe that Almighty, the Most High, knew why this have to be like this. So we want to preserve it to be like that and practice our spirituality on its system. So this is it. Now, this river does a lot of things. We use it for cleansing when you go through bad times. When you've done something bad, you come in here, you cleanse yourself. This river protects the indigenous people from this community. And this river is a mother. So whenever you ask her something, she gives it to you. So whenever we do the cleansing and other things, before we leave here, we put our wishes across, put it on a leaf, let it go to the one it may concern. And when your wishes are coming to pass, you should always never forget to pour a ram and say the thank you Most High. So that's all. So basically, I know everyone have wishes. So you too, I'll give you the list. I don't want to know what you're wishing for, just say it and drop it on that. And I'll give you one so to say your wishes. But when saying it, use your right hand and say on it and put it on the ground. Don't force it to flow, just leave it flow. It will flow where you want it to.